Good afternoon or good morning.
Good morning, lucky us.
Got Daniel here. Both of these defendants logged in early. A little confused, but um,
Good morning.
good morning. This is Sean Haley. Good morning, Mr. Haley.
Right there.
No, I don't know.
No, that's good. Really.
Are we talking? You can't hear
I
him?
can't hear nothing.
I don't know. Maybe he's just in the room right now.
No, you're fine, Sean. I can hear you. I've given you a name. Sit down, not in front of the window so I can
Yeah,
see
I'm
you.
going to sit down. Yeah, I'm going to sit down right now. Come on, baby girl.
Good morning, Mr. Bush.
Oh, Judge.
We have two matters scheduled for sentencing this morning. Mr. John Bush is here on behalf of the defendant Stephen Brewer. He logged in earlier this morning. Mr. Brewer, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Also, Mr. Sean Haley is here on a Three Rivers ordinance case, which we'll be addressing in a minute. Mr. Daniel Frazine did the screening report as to Mr. Haley, and Mr. Matt Huff did the screening report as to Mr. Brewer. Both of these have got some difficult aspects to them. Let's start with Mr. Brewer. Mr. Brewer,
Yes.
what's your date of birth?
7/20/79.
All right. I can't see you, and that's always a little problematic when
Okay.
you're doing criminal sentences. Can
Hold
you
on.
turn your
Where?
there?
How about now?
All right. Okay. Very good. This is file 202409. It's a charge of operating while intoxicated. Defendant was charged with a high blood alcohol level as a first offense and pled to operating while intoxicated under the Sturgis ordinance, I believe.
This one is county, I believe, Your Honor.
Yes, it is. Matt has prepared a screening report. There's a lot going on here. Mr. Bush, what would you like me to know?
Well, Your Honor,
I'd like you to know that it's been 8 years since I had a ticket or DUI or any trouble at all, and I had a relapse on alcohol. And it's not a problem now as far as the drinking goes, and that's
All right,
it's been 8
Mr. Brewer,
years.
just hang tight for a minute. I'll hear from you in a minute. Right now, it's your lawyers' turn to talk, and we'll get to you here momentarily. All right, Mr. Bush.
thank you, Judge. Mr. Brewer obviously can explain why there was a breakdown. He wasn't able to have his interview with Matt Huff. He has historically always been easy for me to communicate with, and I haven't had any communications dealing with him throughout this case. A little bit what he just said, there's been quite a gap in drinking and driving, better than 8.5 years since his most recent conviction. He is still on probation in the state of Indiana for that possession of marijuana charge. So I think that a second probation would probably not really accomplish anything in this case today. He receives SSI for disability for a mental disorder, as he explained to me. He does have obligations to take care of in the state of Indiana on that probation. He does have a GED, but probably not likely to be involved in competitive employment because of his disability. He has spent, I believe, a week in jail already on this case. The guidelines that were calculated show a sentence between 33 and 50%. I see no reason to deviate on the beyond the upper end of those guidelines. Thank you.
Ms. Davis, what's your opinion here?
Your Honor, if I may, can we have the defendant speak if he would like to first before I make my recommendation?
Yes.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Brewer, I spoke to you briefly this morning, and here you are. You never actually made it to the screening process with the probation officer. What would you like me to know?
I got a bundle of papers, and I thought that's what it was. I thought that was the screening. It had questions about alcohol on there, and I thought that's what that was. I didn't know I had to physically. I never meet him or anything. I guess I should have called him.
What else would you like me to know?
Just I'm sorry. I'm ashamed of myself, and everybody's paid off and their cars are fixed. Nobody's hurt. And I'm sorry.
All right. Ms. Davis?
Well, Your Honor, I was not present for the last pretrial where this was decided upon, but I did, in preparation for the sentencing, review all of the documentation that we have, which includes several body cams and a dash cam from a citizen that was following the one vehicle that was hit. And it's very concerning. I mean, to see this vehicle that Mr. Brewer was driving completely disregard a stop sign. It appeared he didn't even hit his brakes, and he plowed into a truck and a utility trailer, completely turning that truck the opposite way. How nobody was injured, including Mr. Brewer himself, I have no idea. The truck that he hit in turn hit another vehicle that was parked or stopped at the stop sign, coming the opposite way. So lots of lives were affected by his choice to consume alcohol and amphetamine. And methamphetamine was in his system. It was detected but not quantified. But that still is concerning. If he's on a probation in Indiana for marijuana, he's got multiple prior OWIs. Why didn't charge this, or somebody didn't charge this as a felony originally? I don't know. So here we are today. The body cams, Mr. Brewer was extremely disruptive and rude to the officers. Maybe it was just because he was extremely intoxicated and coming down from other drugs, but he's lucky that the police are more patient than I am, or he would have probably had a resisting and obstructing for his behavior at the hospital when they were trying to get the blood draw. So the fact that he didn't care enough to call in and speak with Mr. Huff and maybe tell us about maybe treatment or something that he's doing, other than just showing up today and saying, oops, I had a relapse, I'm glad nobody was hurt. His previous OWI, the most recent one, I should say, he spent a full year in jail. He spent 6 months in jail for disorderly conduct that same year. So I guess jail hasn't really fixed him, but in order to keep society safe, I'm asking for the maximum 93 days in this case. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Huff, anything you wish to add?
I would just add, so that it's clear and on the record, that Mr. Brewer was contacted probably about a dozen or so times via telephone, at least the number that was listed, as well as I mailed out a notice to him physically at his address listed on the court file. And it specifically stated that he needed to call the probation department. I don't know what's going on with the mail or the phone, but that's the efforts that we took in order to reach him. That being said, obviously, I'm not able to make the best recommendation, not actually getting to speak with Mr. Brewer, but if I simply just look at the case facts, his criminal history, the fact that he's on probation already, the fact that this isn't his first drunk driving that's involved in an accident, I do think that a good chunk of jail is appropriate in this case. I don't think that, I would agree with Mr. Bush, I don't think that another term of probation is really going to do anything. So I recommended 90 days jail, and to give him credit for the 7, despite the sentencing guidelines being where they were. There is also a restitution of $255 to Sturgis Police Department.
Defendant's on Social Security disability, and if he goes to jail for more than 30 days, he's going to lose his disability. That's always a factor. But I tend to agree with everybody's opinion that jail is warranted here. He was out of it. He was a .228, and he said, those people hit me. Well, they hit him because he blew the stop sign, and he was blaming the other driver. But in that equation, my vote goes to the people that were not 3 times the lawful limit of alcohol. And as you indicated, the video shows he just blew the stop sign. You're all right. He did. They don't mess around out in Indiana. He did 6 months, and then he failed to stop in an accident causing injury. He got a year in jail, and now he's on probation in Indiana. There's no sense of doing another probation. I'm going to order 35 days jail, credit 7, leaving 28 days to serve, which should not affect his Social Security disability. There's certainly an argument in favor of 93 days, but I'll leave that to Indiana. Matt, I'd like you to inform his Indiana probation agent of this sentence.
Will do, Your Honor.
There's a $300 fine, a $75 crime victims' rights fee, a $50 state minimum fee. There is no screening fee because he didn't show up. There's a $150 attorney fee and a $225 reimbursement to the Sturgis Police Department. We do have $500 in bond here. That's not right. 300 plus 75. 75 crime victims' rights fee, $50 state minimum fee, $150 attorney fee, and a $255 police reimbursement is $530. That's still not right. Oh, $530. 120. There's a $120 attorney fee. I'm going to make the fine 0. That comes out to $500. 75, 50, 120, and 255 equals $500. I use the bond. I don't want to chase him for money. Mr. Brewer, you're to turn yourself in tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Your sentence begins at 7 p.m. on April 1.
Tomorrow at 7 p.m. I'll be there.
All right. 1 month non-reporting probation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Brewer, I've had far too many vehicular death cases lately. I'm glad this wasn't another one. Your mental illness is accountable for some of your lack of following through on the requirements, but it isn't a get out of jail free card on a drunk driving case where people could have been killed. I did make a compromise to not lose your Social Security disability. Your Indiana probation officer may feel differently about that. All right, be at the St. Joe County Jail tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it. I'll be there.
Thank you, Judge. Good luck, Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, John. Next, we got Sean Haley. Sean pled without benefit of counsel to an impaired driving charge under Three Rivers Ordinance. Daniel Frazine prepared the screening report. Deborah, I don't think you've got this one.
Correct. I think that's it for me. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Brewer, I'll release you here and you're free to go on about your business. This is an interesting case, Daniel. Sean, I've known him since he was 17, probably. He lived over on Wood Street. He's now 58. Tells you how long I've been here. And he's a father. He hasn't been in trouble for a long time, but he's got a lot of baggage on his criminal record, including a 2018 drunk driving charge in Kalamazoo. In this case, he didn't really go very far. It was a bad judgment. I believe his version that he was going to McDonald's because his kids were hungry, and I expressed we get a lot of drunk drivings from McDonald's. You've recommended a lot of jail hung over his head. I had reservations about whether to do a probation or not here, but Mr. Haley, what would you like me to know?
I would like you to know that I did make a bad judgment from my son, and I like I said, I just turned. His mom passed away, so it's kind of hard for me to be like a dad and a mom, and it's something new to me. And when he said he was hungry, at that time I should have had thought about it. And McDonald's was like 2 blocks. I get in the car, let's go. Right now, I'm doing my own, trying to work up my business as far as floor and painting, and I made a mistake. So I'm trying to correct it. I've been to my church. They have this AA meeting. I've been attending that. I got rid of the car because I don't need that anymore until I get this established, worked out, and everything like that. I called I made reservations for the Secretary of State, and my God, it's very hard to get that appointment going on where they can, you know, get back to the phone and all that. It was hard for me to get this video on this phone. So I'm looking for. I talked to the probation officer, and we had a good talk, and I'm looking forward to whatever recommendation that maybe he might have. You know, it's going to be very hard for me to do any kind of county time, and then that will put more stress on me losing my 14-year-old son at this time. I'm trying to correct it as best as I can. So I want to just leave it up to whatever you guys decide, and hope for the best. You know, pray to God.
All right, Daniel, you made an interesting recommendation here. What's your thought?
Well, and that's kind of how the conversation went with him. He was very honest. I thought it was heartfelt. I just think there's some thinking that has never changed for a lot of his life, and I think he would definitely benefit from a term in probation. I explained to him how it works. He seemed willing to do that, and he was looking forward to getting some good information. Most of it's virtual now, so I think that's a good thing for him with his license situation. That'll work really well for him. I believe that even Prime for Life is virtual now too. So I recommend holding him accountable by making it a longer probation, eligible to get off after 12 months, and holding some good jail over his head.
All right. As you know, some of the rules have changed regarding the ability to do probation, but they take effect tomorrow. But I think probation is appropriate. I'm going to hang all the jail over his head. I'm going to order 31 days credit 1, leaving 30 days to serve. And this COVID time, I'm going to defer all 30 days. That's somewhat unusual. But you got to toe the line, or you're going to end up doing some jail, potentially as many as 30. There's a $300 fine, a $75 crime victims' rights fee, a $50 state minimum fee, a $100 screening fee, $480 probation oversight fee, $120 police reimbursement. Prime for Life is free, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Sean, you're a single parent to a teenage child, which has got its own challenges, but driving your kid drunk to McDonald's with a can of Steel Reserve in your lap is not a real good role model. People don't drink Steel Reserve for the taste. They drink it because it has a high alcohol content.
Yes.
So the probation is a timeout from alcohol, no controlled substances. Test as directed. No alcohol, no marijuana, unless you have a marijuana card, medical card. So you're going to be clean and sober and a role model for your son. You're going to lose your driver's license because you have 2 drunk drivings within 7 years. I don't have any control over that. The impaired in of itself would let you have a restricted license, but I think that 2018 conviction and this combined are going to revoke your license. So your business, you're going to have to get somebody to drive. We're also going to order the victim impact panel.
I do.
Just $15. All right, let's add that up. Daniel had recommended some upfront jail, but I'm deferring all of it. We're in a COVID period. $300 fine, $75 crime victims' rights fee, $50 state minimum fee, $100 screening fee, $480 probation oversight fee, and you could be discharged early if you do a successful probation, as much as 6 months early in the victim impact panel. So it was 1,140. I think I have $200 bond, is that correct?
That's what I have, Your Honor.
$940, and if that's reduced by half of probation, it would take $240 off that. So it'd make it $700 if you can do this in 6 months. Payment is due in 1 year or 7 days jail. You're on probation, Sean. You can't drink, you can't smoke any weed, and you can't drive unless licensed.
Your Honor. That means they won't give me a restricted license, right?
Well, I don't know. If they do give you a restriction, you can drive within the restrictions. But if you get 2 DUIs in a 7-year period, they're likely to revoke your license. I don't have any control over that.
Yes. There'll be no more DUIs, period.
So you have to wait and see what you get from the Secretary of State. If they do restrict it, you can drive to and from it in the course of employment, treatment, probation, school, other limited purposes. Daniel's got your information. All right, Mr. Haley, you and I have both come a long way since 1982,
Yes, sir.
81. I am concerned about your ability to be a good role model for your son. This might be a real good start. All right, Daniel, you know how to get a hold of him. Sean, you're free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Daniel, you still, Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, he'll be getting a hold of you.
All right. Thank you very much, Judge.
Okay. Deborah, that completes our morning. You don't wish to join my zoning hearings this afternoon, so I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Well, I thought we had a PV.
Oh, we have a PV at 1. Yes, we do.
Gotcha.
So I'll see
Well,
you
I'll
at
see you
1.
at 1.
Okay,
Thanks, Judge. See ya.